Hi, I'm Jakira Black, and this is the last time I'm going to be talking about this book because I have finished it. This book is absolutely horrendous, but it's really interesting. It's amazing, but it's so shocking. I hated it. So I'm going to talk about the last chapters, which I think I've read about half of the book today. So like when I got up to yesterday was Bernard, who was from this world that, where everything was like really horrible, and this girl had gone to a reservation where people lived more sort of natural lives. And they met a blonde-haired man whose mother had come from their civilization and got trapped on the reservation and had given birth. So first of all, this blonde-haired boy, John, was talking about his life growing up on the reservation and how his mother couldn't, that his mother used to sleep with the men and stuff because obviously that was what she'd grown up with. That was, for her it was the moral thing to share her body with other people, whereas obviously, in a society that's more like ours, people don't appreciate that. I mean, the men might have appreciated it, but their wives wouldn't have appreciated it. So, she'd get beaten up, and because of that, he was treated like an outcast as well. Very much, he was treated as outcast, and also he was mocked because she couldn't mend his clothes because she'd never learned how to mend clothes and stuff. So he was ragged and not looked after, and so anyway, Bernard managed to sort it out so he could take John and his mother Linda back to the civilization, and he introduced them to the father of the boy, John, who was a director, who was very, very shocked. And then the mother was really, really upset and stuff, and she was put in a hospital, and she was given the drugs, and she was given as much drugs as she wanted because she just wanted the drugs. And they said, well, she'll be happy and she'll be fine, but she will die a lot quicker than she would have, because the drug will overload, so she'll die quite quickly. But and everyone seemed to think that was okay, except for John, who wasn't okay with it. But he was in a situation where he couldn't fight against that because he didn't have any rights to his mother, because the rights are all about the state and what the state says happens. So he goes to visit his mother, and some of the kids, I said earlier in an early video that one of the things they did was they had hatcheries, and those kids that would have been twins, whatever, the capability of the ovum to split was manipulated in such a way that there was twins. So on this ward where there was like everyone was dying, only Linda was looking old. Everyone else still looked young, but the bodies were just giving in because even though physically they looked young, their bodies internally were giving up from the stress of all the drugs and everything. So these twins, multiple twins and stuff, were brought in to view the people that were dying, to condition them to death. Nice. Conditioning little kids to death, so they wouldn't be bothered about it. And okay, maybe it's good not to be bothered about death, but to actually have it thrust in their faces at that age. Also, the girl that had gone to the reservation, John, the boy who was born on the reservation, started getting feelings for her, and she was willing to whatever with him, but he was like, because he'd been brought up in a different way, you know, because the way that people acted is like mainly how people act in our society. He didn't like the idea that, you know, she would just give herself and whatever, and act like his mother had, which had caused him loads of problems growing up. So therefore he rejected her and called her a strumpet and said he was going to hurt her, and then he went off, and yeah. And so anyway, he caused a problem, tried to throw away all the drugs in a hospital. It was taken to see the director, the Ford, this godlike person that he wasn't a godlike person, he was just a director, but he decided to stay and work for civilization and actually help people be happy. And he was talking about God, and this is where I think, you know, Aldous Huxley, I think the whole point behind the story was that in a godless society that, you know, these things happen, you know, and there was talk about that God doesn't belong in a world of machinery and stuff, that he's not needed anymore, and you know, these people are allowed to stay young and childlike, and they don't need to think about death, and they don't, or they think of death as nothing. So they don't need God, and God has been pushed out. And the thing is, obviously, maybe he was pointing at that, yes, all these other things have happened, aren't happening now, but they could happen. But God is being pushed out now, and I think that's what he was saying, you know. And me, as I am a born-again Christian, so, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to push God out, but, you know, I accept that, you know, people believe what they want. But I think that he was, you know, he wrote this book to say, if you push God out, this is going to happen, which isn't true, because it's not about God, you know, it's about, it's more than that, obviously, you know, it's not just about God, it's about having respect for each other, and, you know, everything, and, you know, that people don't belong to each other, and whatever. So at the end, John, Bernard and this other man, I think it might be John's father, is sent to an island where there's people like them that think more, you know, and don't actually really like the way that the society is run, because they want to be individuals, so therefore they're sent to an island with other individuals and they'll be fine. And John doesn't want to go there. He just goes off and he finds a lighthouse and lives there. And then some people see him hitting himself because he's thinking about this woman that he'd fancied and stuff. So the press all come down and people come to stare at him and tell him to whip himself and stuff. And then she comes and he charges at her, and I think there's an orgy or something. I'm not really certain. It was a bit vague, and I think, I mean, to be quite honest, I wasn't bothered it was vague because I didn't really want to read about that, but I think probably the author made it vague for a reason, because he wasn't wanting to sort of glorify that happening. He wanted to make it horrifying. So yeah, you know, sort of there was a clash of cultures. John sort of like didn't really, he couldn't really live in the reservation because of how his mother was and his upbringing, but he didn't want to go to the island because obviously, you know, he didn't know these people, and, you know, their way of life wasn't his, and he didn't want to live in the civilization, because they were really not his. He wanted to live on his own, you know, because I think probably because of his upbringing he had been on his own anyway, so he just wanted to live on his own and do what he wanted and be the ultimate individual. So yeah, I did sort of enjoy it, but I'm glad it's over. I mean, the thing is, it's an old book as well, and I'm like, every so often I'm like, I'm sure I could smell something. So it's red now, so I can, yeah. So and now, as well as doing some work on my masters, which I know you need to do, I am going to read next, and I'm not going to do videos about this because I'm just going to read. I'm going to read next, because in my what was it, the resolution video I did at the beginning of January, I said one of the things I was going to read a full series, and this is the series that I'm going to read, I said. So I've decided that I'm going to read these now. So I'm going to start with The Young Elite by Marie Lu, and then I will read The Rose Society by Marie Lu, and then I will continue on to Midnight Star by Marie Lu, and I'm going to marathon them all together. I do intend to do another video series like this of the book review. I will think about what I'm going to read. I've got loads of books up there that I could read in the meantime, but I am going to be doing a book haul sometime towards the beginning of March. So I will think until then, and then I will say what I'm going to do. It probably won't be as extreme as this book for you have been, because this is obviously a classic, and a lot of people have read this. Whereas I wouldn't, if say for instance I choose, if I chose this book, Hold Back the Stars by Katie Kahn, this has just been released. Now, I could quite easily talk about this, but I don't want to be giving out spoilers even in a video review. So I probably would write notes as I'm going on, and then talk very vaguely about this and what I thought, if I do this one, which this is a possibility, because I do really like the sound of this book. Incidentally, if you've not heard about this, I did do it in my last book haul. This is about it takes over 90 minutes in space. So okay, bye.